Good morning, and welcome to this second segment that we are doing in answering God's call to discipleship by studying the Bible for its message about discipleship and how to become one, as viewing the Bible as a long, inspired letter from God to you and to me about how to answer that call. Now, we have gotten into the fourth book of Moses, which is the book of Numbers. And at this stage, the Israelites have been for approximately a year at the foot of Mount Sinai. Now, the important thing that has occurred for all of history, as well as for these people and for us, is there was at Mount Sinai where not just the Ten Commandments occurred, as important as that certainly is. This remote, unknown God of the Israelites has now come down to the top of the mountain where he was still quite restricted. They could see the cloud of smoke in the day and the pillar of fire at night, signifying the presence of God. But he was still far, far away from them in a personal sense. That is beginning to change. Remember, we have a tabernacle now. Many have always thought of it throughout history as a simple travelable tent with a little altar in it. We found out by analysis that it was actually an opulent, complicated structure that cost in today's dollars between $50 and $100 million because of the amount of workmanship that went into it, all of the fine materials, and tons of pure silver and pure gold. Now, because of that tabernacle, which is at the camp, at the foot of Mount Sinai, now that big pillar of cloud by day and fire by night has come down and is above this tabernacle tent itself. God has moved in to the midst of his chosen people. And such a big difference this makes, because his revelations of his character, his purposes, his laws, his commandments, and his reaction to what occurs with his people and to his people is a day-to-day thing, and everything is changing. Remember, Mallory, if we could have a look at the camp of the Israelites at the foot of Mount Sinai. Remember, in the last segment, we talked about what a confused ragtag bunch of people had come from Egypt to Mount Sinai. Well, as you can see, as we have seen, a lot has happened during that period of time. And now look at what we have got, and we're going to discuss the Israelites at the camp at the bottom and what this means to what is going to happen as they go to claim Canaan, the promised land, the gift God gave to Abraham's descendants. You notice that at the center of all of this, the way this camp is set up, is the tabernacle complex. And you notice that around the tabernacle complex, there is an area for Aaron and Moses and Aaron's two sons who have been appointed as priests. The other area around it, where it says Merarites, Gershonites, and Kothites, those are descendants of the three sons of Levi, who was one of the original sons of Jacob. That's where we got the 12 tribes from. Also, remember, as we discussed last segment, there are actually 13 tribes, because Joseph was one of those sons of Jacob. And when he died at the beginning of the 400-year captivity, somehow his portion was simply divided into two separate tribes. His son Manasseh and his son Ephraim both became like they were a son of Jacob instead of a grandson of Jacob. And that's how that happened. So we actually have, if you count out the sons, you count out we have 13 tribes, but we still only have 12 sons of Jacob. So the tribe of Levi has been designated as the ones who would be in charge of the tabernacle. They are the ones who do all the work. The priests, which is another, which is a very, very high, separate, closed group, is Aaron and his two sons. This is all at the center of this camp. And look how it looks, how it's organized. This is scriptural. In Numbers, God has taken the ragtag group that came down disorganized and every which sort of way from Egypt, and not only told them to pay attention to the tribe that you're in and how you are ordered, but sets up for the camp exactly where all of the tribes are to be assembled together in their tents to live. Well, you know, the pictures that you often see of the Israelites camped at the foot of Mount Sinai is usually in reference to the Ten Commandments. But what it looks like is a bunch of tents of a very large family reunion, like we have often all over the world. And maybe if they camp out, that's kind of how they look. We don't have that at all. What we have got is an assembly of and this is not controversial. Scholars who have reviewed this and looked at it from every way possible, all have reached a consensus that what this diagram that you are seeing represents a total, if you add up all the figures that you see at the foot by each one of these names, those figures are the number of men in that tribe above the age of 20 who would be available for fighting and defense. We're getting ready to go to Canaan, the promised land. Now, it doesn't take many of us very long to figure out that if you add all of that up, it comes to 603,550 men over 20. Well, in the Jewish tradition, certainly the ancient tradition, a man is most certainly 99.999%. By the time they reach the age 20, they are not only married, but they have children. So any way you figure it, the number of people in this camp that you're looking at the diagram of comes to between 1.5 and 3 million people. Now, folks, that is a lot of people to be camped, and they've already been there for a year, but now they are organized. But let's look at this a little closer, because they have been organized through Moses by God. And every time the Israelites move their camp, it is ordered how they go out, and it is ordered where they will reassemble exactly according to this diagram whenever they come to another camping place. Not only that, but the camp, it's helpful to realize when we see what is happening in Numbers for the spiritual growth of these people, as well as being organized into a true nation that is about to take over an entire country that none of these people have ever set foot in before. And they're a couple of 100 miles away from that country, and they are preparing to go there. Not only that, but they now have the tabernacle. And remember, in this tabernacle is the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day hovers above the tabernacle. But guess what? When the Israelites move out of camp, how do they know when to move? When the cloud lifts or the column of fire lifts, everybody starts striking their tents. They start taking out the pegs. They start folding it and getting everything on the carts and getting ready to go. And then it is prescribed precisely in the book of Numbers what is to happen when this couple to 3 million people get ready to move. The first thing that happens is the Ark of the Covenant leads the procession. And you can imagine the many miles that this procession would be. Just to give you some perspective, when you look at how these tribes are arranged around the tabernacle consisting of the camp, a number of scholars have estimated, just using common sense, how far apart the tents would need to be and how many people would be in the tent. Did you know that they have pretty well agreed that if you walked from one side of this camp directly to the opposite side of the camp, either going east or west or north or south, it would be a distance of between 5 and 7 miles. Doesn't look like the little family reunion camp we had in our minds, does it? Well, imagine when it is strung out in a column moving from one place to another. So the Ark of the Covenant goes first. That is then followed by the tribe of Judah, which is followed by the tribe of Issachar, which is followed by Zebulun, and then each of the tribes follow in the exact same order every time, except that after the tribe of Zebulun comes all of the parts of the tabernacle. So you've got the ark at the beginning with the pillar of fire or the cloud above it. Then you have the largest army of the Israelites, which are the men of the tribe of Judah, 74,500 of them. And then you have the 3 other next largest tribes. And then after those 3 tribes, you have all of the holy parts of the tabernacle being carried only by the Levites. Not only by the Levites, but the Meharites, the Gershonites, and the Kohathites are carrying certain items that have been assigned to their group or their sub-tribe and their sub-tribe only. A lot has changed from when they entered the plain at the foot of Mount Sinai and when they are leaving it, which they are about to do on their way to the promised land. Thank you. See you next time.